start by welcoming these participants to this important meeting. First of all, Vilma Castro Soteldo, People's Minister for Agriculture and Lands of the Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela, Graces Damiani Barrios Prada, People's Minister for Urban Farming of the Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela, Gustavo Rodriguez Rollero, Minister of Agriculture of the Republic of Cuba, Edwin Jaracayo, Minister of Development and Land of the Plurinational State of Bolivia, Edward Francisco Centeno Gadea, Minister of Agriculture of the Republic of Nicaragua,
I'd like to welcome Kira Paul, Permanent Secretary of Agriculture of the Commonwealth of Dominica, His Excellency Saboto Cesar, Minister of Agriculture, Forestry, Fisheries, Rural Transformation, Industry and Labor of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, His Excellency Peter David, Minister of Agriculture, Land and Forestry of Grenada, His Excellency Gregory Bailey, Director of Agriculture of the Ministry of Agriculture, Fisheries and Barbuda Affairs from Antigua and Barbuda. Also, Vance Emery, National Coordinator of St. Kitts and Nevis for ALBA-TCP from the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis. También quiero saludar.
I would like to greet and welcome the presence among us of Raúl Licausi, President of the ALBA Bank. This meeting has been organized to fulfill the mandate of the Summit of Heads of State and Government of our alliance that agreed to reactivate the ALBA Food Program as part of the work plan after the pandemic 2021 in order to establish strategies and actions to give joint responses to the impact in the agricultural sector, given the emergency of the COVID-19, in order to ensure the food needed by our peoples. And this in the framework of the tradition of our alliance to address this vital issue in order to build a complementary, productive economy which is sovereign and based on solidarity and independent economy as well. We need to remember the plan post-pandemic approved during the last summit of heads, indicating that one of the goals is to ensure food security through the reactivation of the ALBA food and the reinvigoration of the economy after the pandemic. We have problems with international tourism, which is a major driving force of most of the countries of the alliance. Given the consequences of the pandemic, we need to carry out a joint task in order to overcome the situations in our country. It is in this regard that the number of topics has been proposed for this meeting. I'm going to mention just a few. The implications of the pandemic, of the COVID-19, implications of the unilateral coercive measures in food production, and the strengthening of farming systems, techniques and technologies for exchange of seeds for various crops, and the genetic of various animals. Husbandry proposes to build an alternative model of food sovereignty, exchange of experience, of successful experience, and learning regarding family farming, the agreements for mechanization in family farming, exchange of technologies of low cost to have better performance in different soils, in the different countries, to exchange on agribusiness, development and maintenance of the sustainable food chain for fishing, the surveillance in the coastal areas, report on fishing, intra-ALBA trade of agricultural products and fish, technical support in agriculture and fishing, opportunities of investments in between countries in the farming areas to strengthen agriculture, resilient system vis-a-vis climate, development of the productive chain, zero hunger, the use of the cryptocurrency petro to strengthen the economic and productive economy of the ALBA-TCP nations. These are some of the topics of this vast agenda that we're going to address today, and this in the framework of the invitation made by the Secretary General of the UN in order to organize a summit on the food systems. ALBA should build its own proposal to be taken to this international summit. Without further ado, I would like to give the floor to His Excellency Wilmar Castro Soteldo, People's Minister for Productive Farming and Land of the Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela, so he can open formally this important meeting. Minister, you have the floor. Cordial greetings to all the brothers and sisters, ministers, senior authorities of agriculture within the ALBA-TCP. This multinational scheme, supranational scheme, created by our heads, has been showing the world a different way of have an alliance and solidarity and cooperation among the peoples. Despite the fact that our Secretary General is very busy with a tight schedule, I thank him for being here. I would like to welcome all the brothers and sisters from the various countries, part of this alliance, and then opening formally this meeting. As the Executive Secretary already said, we have a very important agenda in order to find solutions, structural solutions that we need to implement in order to move forward in attaining the objectives that we have set and that we will be building as we organize these meetings. One of them has to do with connectivity among our nations. It is of the essence. If we want to move forward in a much more decisive manner, this could be done through multimodal transportation, through air transport, or also through maritime sea transport. Not only we are going to exchange goods and services linked to our area of influence, but also people, cargo, courier, which is vital for the development and to carry out our activities. The second aspect, which is also vital, is the impact of the blockade measures implemented by the US government against TCP, ALBA-TCP countries such as Cuba, Nicaragua, and the Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela. We have been terribly affected by these UCM. Third, the pandemic. Each one of our countries devised their own mechanisms based on the social, political, geographical traits to address the pandemic. And the results are there. They're very clear and they're very encouraging. So we can show the world that ALBA-TCP has a method, has processes, structures, and institutions to tackle critical cases such as this, affecting not only a single country, but the whole community. And agriculture is not an isolated factor, given the cross-cutting effects on humanity and the communities and the survival of us all. A fourth element has to do with the financial aspect. This has to do not only with the difficulty we have to generate resources, to obtain foreign currency, foreign exchange, to produce a financial mechanism of exchange of goods and services. In the past, we have tried to have these mechanisms such as the Sucre, which were not very successful. But we need to find new methods, such as the ones created in this juncture, which has had so far some interesting results, um, like the mechanisms we have applied with our brothers and sisters from Cuba. In a discrete fashion, we've been working, but with some efficiency in order to overcome the difficulties we are facing. I think we could share these experiences. We cannot do so through these means because of security reasons, but it is vital to be able to achieve more results as we've done with Cuba so far. This is another hurdle that we need to address in this debate, and it's just an introduction based on the agenda items mentioned by our secretary. And another element regarding the zoosanitary and phytosanitary norms and standards. In that regard, we had already made progress in the framework of CELAC, UNASUR, and ALBA. However, we need to go back, taking into account the present conditions of humanity, the biosafety measures we need to take. Well, these measures should be implemented and should be studied. Just to give you an example, the case of the invasion of the pez leon, of the leon fish in the Venezuelan Caribbean. We have a migration of this fish, which is a very predatory fish, which is undermining the production of other type of fish that we have in the region. In the agriculture, it is affecting our fishers. So we need to address that situation because in the same fashion that we're having this problem with the leon fish, we could have problems with other microorganisms, biological and pathogens that coming from outside our region could be damaging our areas. So biosafety is a key issue that we need to address very carefully in order to facilitate the exchange of vegetal and animal origin products, but also that we can devise together a technical, scientific force enabling us to address these situations. And I would like to insist on logistics. The sea transportation means of large volumes in our region is very much obstacularized, hurdled, because we do not have the fleet enabling us to move the amount of products we require. But also, we are suffering the consequences of the blockade of potential shipping companies that could provide that service so we can meet our needs. Again, I welcome all the colleagues present here today in this meeting. And after this formal opening, we will start the debate. And as a methodology, in order to be able to address all the items established for this meeting, to divide, create various work areas where we can work together as we have done so far in other areas. So if you allow me, Mr. Secretary, I'm going to give the floor to Gustavo Rodriguez Rollero, Minister of Agriculture of Cuba, who is in his office. So Gustavo, you have the floor. And thank you so much.
Bien, buenas tardes a todos los colegas, en
Good
especial
afternoon, especially Sasha Llorenti,
colegas ministros Wilmar de la
our
ministra de
colleagues,
Agricultura,
Wilmer and
en
the
general a todos
Minister
los
of
colegas
Agriculture,
que
and
estamos
all the
participando
colleagues
en esta
who are taking
importante
part
intercambio.
in this important
En
meeting.
primer lugar,
First of
quisiera
all,
agradecer
I
en
would
nombre
like
del
to
gobierno de
thank on
Cuba,
behalf of the government
de
of
los
Cuba,
trabajadores del
of
sistema de la
the
agricultura,
workers of the
de los
agricultural system,
cooperativistas y campesinos,
of
y en el mío
cooperativists
propio,
and
el
farmers, and on my
agradecimiento
behalf,
por la amable
I
invitación
would
a participar de
thanks
forma
for
virtual
this
en
kind
la reunión
invitation
de
to
altas
participate in
autoridades
this virtual
comunitarias de
meeting of
agricultura
the
del
senior
ALBA-TCP.
authorities of the agricultural
De esta
sector of the
forma, y no
ALBA-TCP.
presencial, expondremos, como explicó
We
el
are going
compañero Wilmar,
to
los
explain
futuros retos y perspectivas de
the
desarrollo de
future
la agricultura,
challenges
a
and goals
pesar
of
de
the
las
agriculture,
limitaciones a Cuba de
despite
no poder
the
acceder a la
limitations of
plataforma
Cuba
Zoom como
that
les
cannot
fue
have
concedido
access to
a
the
nuestro país.
Zoom platform.
Estimados colegas,
Dear colleagues,
debemos estar conscientes que una
we
grave
need to be
crisis
mindful
alimentaria
that the serious
nos amenaza
food
a Cuba
crisis
y al
is
mundo,
threatening us and the world,
agravada por la aparición de
aggravated
esta
by the
terrible
appearance
enfermedad
of this
afecta
terrible
que pone
disease
en peligro
affecting us
la
all,
existencia misma de la
endangering
especie humana,
the very
la
existence
pandemia
of the human race,
COVID-19.
the
Nos ha
COVID-19
impuesto el
pandemic.
reto
It has
de buscar
imposed the
alternativas
challenge to
viables
find
para
feasible
mejorar los
alternatives
sistemas
to improve
alimentarios. Es
the
un
food
reto
systems.
en medio de esta
It is a
situación
challenge in
que
the
tenemos
midst of this
en todos los
situation,
organismos que tenemos a nombre del gobierno la
and
responsabilidad de dirigir la
for
agricultura,
all those
que
responsible
nos
for
permite
agricultural matters,
minimizar el negativo
in order
impacto de
to
esta pandemia,
minimize the effect of
garantizando
the
la seguridad
pandemic,
alimentaria
ensuring
y
food
una
security
adecuada nutrición
and an
para
appropriate
mejorar la
nutrition
salud,
to
la
improve the
calidad de
health,
vida y el bienestar
quality
de
of life,
nuestros
and
pueblos.
the well-being of our
Los efectos
peoples.
de la pandemia
The
en
effect
Cuba
of the pandemic in
ha
Cuba
exigido de nosotros una
have
respuesta
demanded
más dinámica,
a far more dynamic
concertada,
response,
eficaz,
concerted and
basada en la
efficacious one
complementariedad
based
de
on
la cooperación y
complementarity,
la solidaridad.
cooperation, and
Intensos
solidarity.
han sido los esfuerzos y
Great
toma de
efforts
decisiones
have been
concretas
made and
para
concrete
mitigar las
decisions have been
carencias que
taken
en medio de
to
la pandemia
mitigate
nos
the
impone también
shortages
el
we have
recrudecido
had.
bloqueo económico,
And this
comercial y
because of
financiero
the
contagiando
financial,
nuestra
economic
región de
blockade
países de
against
ALBA,
our
como son
country and other
Venezuela
countries such as
y Nicaragua,
Venezuela and Nicaragua,
incluido las áreas del perfil
including
totalmente humanitario que nos han
the
impedido tener acceso a
humanitarian
financiamiento,
profile that has
tecnología
prevented us to have
y
access to
mercado.
financing, technology, and
Ante
markets.
esta situación nos hemos crecido
Faced with the
y adoptamos
situation,
la
we have
producción
adopted
de alimentos.
very,
Ha sido
various actions
necesario
regarding food
desarrollar
supply. We have
sistemas
developed
agroalimentarios locales. Quiero
local
insistir en esto.
food
Estamos
supply
avanzando en
systems.
Cuba
We are moving
a
forward in
partir de la
Cuba
aprobación de políticas de
from the
gobierno
approval
en
of
apertura
government policies
en el
in moving
desarrollo de
forward in the
sistemas
development
agroalimentarios
of food,
locales,
local
tomando el
food
municipio
systems,
como base
taking the
de ese
municipality
desarrollo
as
con
the
todas las
center of
cooperativas,
this development
campesinos,
with all the peasant
productores, administración local,
cooperative,
trabajadores de diferentes
farmers,
municipios.
etc., in the various
Modestos todavía
municipalities.
son los resultados.
The results are very
Estamos en
modest
disposición de
so far.
compartir estas
We are
experiencias con
willing
todas las
to exchange these experiences with all nations, especially with the members of the alliance, of the ALBA alliance. In this difficult context, in our country, we have implemented fresh policies of local development for the farming sector. Cuba has tried to improve the soils, bearing in mind irrigation, drainage, fertilizers, and the use and conservation of this important resource for current and future generations, based on the achievements of science and innovation of all our scientific institutions and universities. And we need we're accountable to the highest levels of government. We have the political will, and we project the development up to 2030 by stages in order to meet the challenges that we have identified. Emphasis has been made on the fiscal and economical incentive, climate change, and effective actions. We work in this direction, especially in order to address the soil, the proper care of water, and the forestry development. And we mitigate also these phenomenon presented by nature. The transformation of the agroproductive scheme is also a task that we have implemented. Access to the land, reduction of the difference between the rural and urban areas. And we continue giving the land to those who request land and are ready to work the land. We strengthen the local institutions. We encourage the use of IT technologies and communications, strengthening the response capacity of the public institutions. Cuba has centered its effort to get closer to the food security and sovereignty. Very recently, we approved the food security and sovereignty plan by Cuba. Today, we are training and making proposals to the Assembly of the Peoples in order to them to adopt a law on food security and sovereignty to reduce the amount of paid for food import. We work a lot to produce in our country an important part of this foreign produce and to increase in the export of our own produce. We are attaching a lot of importance of the agri-food chains in order to contribute to the development of Cuba, to the strengthening of these food supply chains, whose purpose is to improve food security in the country. To attain this type of agriculture, we have what is more important, people, our farmers, cooperativists, agricultural workers, doctors, engineers, graduated from the technical professional institutions and polytechnical institutions, qualified workers, and organizations that have overcome the blockade. Therefore, as our transformations continue to proceed and the strengthening of our political economic model and with the exchange of experience and joint ventures with other countries, we will then be able to have a modern and sustainable agricultural sector. It is our will to identify among our countries the potentials they have in the various food crops in order to contribute to reduce food dependency of our peoples. Also, we will identify the strength regarding with human talent, handling of natural resources, and the innovations developed by science in order to contribute to overcome the gaps limiting the food sovereignty and security of our countries. Before I close my address, I would like to remember the words of the leader of the Cuban Revolution when he referred to the ALBA creation, um, based on the ideas of Bolivar and Martí, with an example of revolutionary solidarity and peaceful cooperation through fraternal dialogue and open dialogue, from which we can derive actions and ideas that will give us a guide to continue moving forward in the purpose of strengthening cooperation, solidarity, unity, integration, and the defense of peace in the region. Thank you very much. We have taken due note of the various items mentioned by our brother Wilmer. We agree fully with them, and I think that should be the roadmap of our cooperation among those working in the ALBA-TCP. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, our friend Gustavo Rodriguez Rollero. We will take note of all the appreciations that you have provided us. And now we will give the floor to our brother Erin Caracayo, who's the Ministry of Rural Development and Land of the plurinational state of Bolivia. Edwin, the floor is yours. Good afternoon, dear friends. I am Engineer Richard. I am a technician for the rural development and land here in Bolivia. And I would like to greet you on behalf of the Minister Engineer Edwin Characayo. He attended an emergency meeting. Nevertheless, I am here in order to cooperate and to help the minister. After listening to you, and after listening to the speeches of our comrades, it is quite satisfying for me to talk about agriculture, about the improvement of farming in order to be able to attack COVID. Here in Bolivia, we are looking at many important topics on how we can study food per family within the Department of Agriculture of Bolivia. We have seen the needs of many families that are of low income, and they have opted to consider the ecological family agriculture. Why? Well, because of the pandemic that has attacked us in different parameters within the area of Santa Cruz for many reasons. So those families have not been able to cultivate due to many problems and mainly due to the pandemic. Therefore, we have carried out this type of per family agriculture. Every family started to harvest in order to be able to have food sustainability in their daily lives for themselves. Thank you very much. Well, thank you. To our brother from Bolivia, we would like to extend our greetings to our friend, the president, and also the minister. Next, we would like to give the floor to our brother Eduardo Francisco Centeno Gadea, who is the Agricultural Minister of the Republic of Nicaragua. Edward, the floor is yours. Good afternoon, everyone. The Minister, Eduard Centeno, is not here. He had to go to another mission. Therefore, I will be sharing this moment with you. My name is Claudia Cárdenas. I am part of the production and trade area. I am here on behalf of the authorities, and I would like to greet these senior authorities of agriculture of ALBA. I would like to extend a warm hug from this land of Sandino and Rubén Darío. This is a very important topic, agriculture, mainly in a country like ours, which is based on agriculture, and which is also based on what is happening nowadays in the world, which is the COVID-19. We also had 2 hurricanes in a row. We must also add the different difficulties that we have had to tackle in most of our countries as a result of actions and the poor management of natural resources, among other problems. This has caused and unleashed consequences that have affected us, both from the food point of view, from the economic growth point of view. We have been affected by the prolonged drought, the losses of the lands, of the productive capacity, the appearance of plagues and diseases, the limited access of the quality of seeds, the resistance to illnesses, the phytosanitary measures, the adoption of practices and technologies. And based on all these lines, we have proposed ourselves to work hard on the strategic lines for the research, validation, adoption of new varieties, or of a genetic improvement to reduce the production times, the adaptation to the weather variability, the increase of production up to 50%, resistance to affectation, plagues, illnesses, the production of soils with low productivity levels, the improvement of the quality of nutrients of the tubercles. And all these processes and actions have been carried out by us in order to obtain results for the genetic improvements, for the mutagenesis, for the generation of varieties, the phyto improvement, the participative phyto improvement. This is a hard work that we've carried out together with the producers, with scholars, and with state institutions of our government. We've also performed hybridations. As a result of all these efforts and of this line of work, as a result of this severe work that we have done from all our institutions, we have now 600 community banks for the production of high quality seeds from a genetical point of view. This is done together with the families and producers so that our country producers learn to produce seeds and so that we depend less on commercial seeds. We have obtained the genetic improvement of 75 varieties of beans, rice, vegetables, pastures, 130 processes of phyto improvements, with which we have improved 30 varieties, the generation of highly productive hybrids of tomatoes and corn, a bank of germplasm with 2,700 varieties of seeds, 3 culture labs for the accelerated production of seeds, biotechnology labs for the reduction of time of new varieties, 114 labs for technological development, and regarding husbandry, bovine and porcine cattle, we have worked to increase the amount of milk. We have tried to increase the number of animals to improve adaptability. And we have done this by selecting better quality animals to increase the bovine and porcine production. We've also transplanted embryos. We have installed 7 specialized farms for genetical improvement, and we've applied genetic improvement programs for the bovine and porcine animals. We have had farms for the genetical improvement. All these actions that I have mentioned have provided significant results for the growth and the development of our country, for the growth and the increase of the productivity indexes, but mainly on ensuring food for our people, who, in spite of the attacks that we have received since last year, because nature has attacked us, in spite of that, our joint work with the family and with the government has given good results for the cooperation and by sharing knowledge also with the countries that are here present today. Thanks to that knowledge, we have had great results for the strengthening of the knowledge that we're always working on and that we are transferring to the Nicaraguan families, taking as a reference the fact that the strengthening of knowledge is fundamental for the growth and development of our families. Thank you very much. Thank you to our comrade and sister from the Republic of Nicaragua for the extraordinary contributions and experiences. Next, we're going to give the floor to our friend Kira Paul. She's the Permanent Secretary of Agriculture of the Commonwealth of Dominica. The floor is yours, Mrs. Kira.
Ok, si no está la compañera Kira Paul,
If Mrs. Kirapol is not here, is she here?
No, she's not. Are you hearing?
adelante.
Hello? Hello, good afternoon. Not on mute.
Adelante.
Hello?
Go ahead, you can speak. We can.
Yeah, okay. I'm Ricky Bruman from Dominica. Apologies for the permanent secretary who is not here. She is, of course, on another mission, just as important. But let me express much pleasure to be at this meeting with my colleagues. We are very pleased to associate with this intervention, the ALBA-TCP. We're looking forward through friendship and through collaboration and caring to ensure that our people are developed in a way that would bring a much comfort. And in this dispensation of COVID-19 and in this dispensation of climatic issues, we need to join our hands, our hearts, our heads, and our minds together to bring certain deliverables to peoples of all our countries in the region, and of course our colleagues in Central and South America, including Cuba, to our north. Dominica is prepared to work diligently to support these efforts and to ensure that work to people and our citizens, and to ensure that work is certainly delivered in a very efficient and proficient manner. Of course, our ministry, the Ministry of Blue and Green Economy, Agriculture and National Food Security, is mandated to ensure that we have food on our tables, to ensure that our people share in equity and equality what is given from resources of the country. We welcome our friends. We welcome the support from our friends. And in like manner, we will reciprocate, and we will, of course, share our resources, as little as they may be, our physical, our capital, and of course, our human resource. We will contribute diligently to these efforts to ensure that ALBA-TCP is successful, and every intervention that is delivered and given will see to it that every Dominican citizen and every citizen of the region enjoys the benefit that comes with freedoms, that comes with health, that comes with education, that comes with nutrition, that will ensure zero hunger. And we, of course, are always ready. Our arms are open, our hearts are open, and given our own technical expertise as well, we will join the expertise of all the countries mentioned, including Cuba and Venezuela, to ensure every citizen within the ALBA circle is satisfied and reaches optimally the goals for freedom, again, for equity and for equality. We thank you very much, the conveners of this meeting, and of course, through our ambassador, we welcome these initiatives, and we are prepared, diligently so, to ensure this is successful here, presently, and of course, into the future. Dominica give its support wholeheartedly to this movement forward, and we are ready at any time that you can call on us to execute with you, joining our hearts and hands again to bring comfort, especially in these COVID times. And in the event that any untoward climatic event will happen, that we will be prepared to share reciprocally and mutually for the benefits of all. Thank you very much, and we will participate as best as we can to ensure profits again and benefits again to all participants. Thank you very much. And of course, I am Ricky Bruman
Le damos
from
las
Dominica,
gracias.
the Director of Agriculture.
Gracias, Ricky. Gracias.
Thank you, Ricky. Thank you for your contribution. Thank you for your voluntary support. Next, we would like to give the floor to Saboto Cesar, the Minister of Agriculture, Forestry, Fishery, Rural Transformation, Industry, and Work of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. The floor is yours, Mr. Saboto.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. Colleagues, comrades, brothers and sisters, it's indeed a pleasure and an honor to sit to discuss issues of first importance to the development of the peoples of the ALBA. I listened very attentively to all the presentations, and I agree with the underlying principles and precepts outlined. However, I want to underscore a very important point. We have an excellent narrative, but I think what we need most and what the peoples of the ALBA are requiring most of us as policymakers is to go beyond the narrative. It is excellent to be able to spot the problems, analyze them, and to assess them. But there is an urgent need, in fact, there's a fierce urgency of now for us to put in place a programmatic platform for implementation. I traversed significant territory, touching on concerning issues of the Petro Alimentos program. And today we are building upon all of the hard work and all of the efforts of the drafters of these policies. What we're speaking about, they are not new subject matters. There's a need for a technical working group from all of the members represented here today, and we should get working. I want to highlight 2 points that I think are areas that we can begin to work on almost immediately. The first, if we want to foster and promote intra-ALBA trade, it is critical that we address the issue of maritime transportation. If there isn't any ability to move the food that we're speaking about, then this will be an exercise in utility. It again will be only surrounding having an excellent narrative and not the implementation that is needed. And secondly, even though we have the restraints of COVID-19, there are the possibilities and opportunities for the exchange of technicians. And I listened quite attentively to my comrade sister from Nicaragua, who outlined that their excellent germplasms, their new and improved varieties that are available in her country. And these are the kinds of discussions that we should work towards operationalizing. I want to close by saying I respect the hard work of the organizers of the meeting, and this is definitely a step in the right direction. And from the standpoint of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, we are ready to participate in the implementation of the outline guidelines in any MOU that we are going to advance. we need to get beyond the narrative. Thank you very much.
Muchísimas gracias al colega.
Thank you very much to our colleague Saboto Cesar. I 100% undersign your appreciations and your concerns. Next, we would like to give the floor to our friend Peter David from Grenada, the Minister of Agriculture, Land and Forestry. Peter, it is your turn.
Thank you, colleagues. Are you hearing me?
Gracias.
Good afternoon. First of all,
Perfecto.
let me thank the organizers of the meeting of ALBA-TCP, and to underscore the tremendous work done not just on agriculture, but of ALBA-TCP in the development of our countries. I want to pay tribute to the founders, Hugo Chavez, Fidel Castro, my dear brother from Dominica, a founding member too, my brother Skerrit, and all of the others, Nicaragua, Daniel Ortega, who have worked hard to bring the region together. I want to thank them for their hard work, and I have had many interactions with ALBA for many, many years as foreign minister, and I am happy that today, after all that work we've done in establishing ALBA-TCP, we are now able to cooperate at the level of agriculture. I want to say to all of the experienced agricultural ministers, my dear brother Saboto from St. Vincent, from whom I seek counsel all the time. Thank you for helping me to adjust to this new ministry. I've only been in the Ministry of Agriculture for, I think it's about 4 months. But I must say this, that while COVID-19 has created many difficulties for us, it has created some opportunities. And in Grenada, these opportunities include an understanding, a deep understanding among our peoples about the need for food security and therefore the need for the development of the agricultural sector. While we paid lip service to it for many years, it has hit us face to face, the need for the agricultural sector to be treated with the importance that it has. And I think COVID-19, while it has caused many challenges, it has put some political wind behind our backs because of the importance that the people have seen in the agricultural sector. Grenada welcomes the opportunity to cooperate with our regional partners, both in the Caribbean region and in Latin America and South America. We are very much involved in tree crops, in nutmeg, in cocoa, and those tree crops, soursop being one of the new issues. We are interested in livestock, some exotic crops. So we are absolutely, we have a history of agricultural dominance, and only recently tourism has become an important element in all of that. We have many challenges. And the challenges of capital investment, the challenge of markets, the challenge addressed by my brother Saboto. I want to just spend 1 minute because I won't be long. We have many discussions, but the issue that Saboto raised, I think it's absolutely critical. The issue of transportation, not only in agriculture, but generally for integration, the integration that we see in Caribbean and Latin America. I mean, Venezuela is just down the street from us, but it is extremely difficult. For me to get to Venezuela, even by air, I have to go to Miami or to some other capital. So we need to solve the issue. But for agriculture in particular, Saboto is absolutely correct that the cooperation that we need, the cooperation that we desire, the cooperation that will help us develop must address the issue of maritime transportation, not only for goods, but for persons, farmers moving to each other's territories. So I think that is something we must put high on the agenda. I agree with him on the issue of exchange of technicians, but there's one issue that I believe must be added to that, is the issue of research. I think we need to do much more research as to products we can produce. For example, in Grenada, we have cocoa and nutmegs for many years, but we are not aware if there are many other products that we may be able to produce given our limited territory that is much more valuable. So I want to add to that exchange of research between our countries, and maybe the establishment of a mechanism so that not each of us will have a research institute, but certainly the location of research facilities in one of our territories that would facilitate all of us and all of our research, our soil research, our product research into products we may be able to do. So I want to add that to Saboto's call for transportation, discussion, and exchange of technicians, the development of research facilities. But all in all, I want to thank all of you for the cooperation, and I look forward. And Saboto, again, I want to add to his voice that we must get to implementation. I think we have the narrative, we know what the problems are, we know what the solutions are. We need to move now to move step by step, take what we can do. We may dream the big dream, but we need to get there in steps. So I think we need to look at what can be done now, and let's do now, and then we move incrementally to achieve everything we want to achieve. So thanks again for having me here, and I look forward to the cooperation. And as Saboto said, any MOU that we do sign must have in it timelines and the mechanism for implementation. I thank you.
Gracias.
Thank you, Peter, for your observations. I also undersigned them 100%. Next, we will give the floor to our friend Gregory Bailey. He's the Agriculture Director of the Ministry of Agriculture, Fishery of Antigua and Barbuda. Gregory, we give you the floor.
Thank you very much, Chair, for affording me the opportunity to speak. Firstly, let me apologize on behalf of our Honorable Minister for her absence, Honorable Samantha Marshall. Antigua and Barbuda fully supports the sentiments expressed by St. Vincent and the Grenadines and Grenada. Antigua and Barbuda is grateful to be a part of this regional forum, and we intend to participate and gain mutual benefits, particularly in improving our food security in the area of vegetable production, poultry production, with an emphasis on improved technologies in support of water harvesting and water efficiency. We also support the argument of mobilizing resources in a meaningful way to ensure that we are able to mobilize our resources inter-regionally, intra-ALBA, if I dare say, in a meaningful way. And also to have joint projects and research possibilities to ensure that we support each other's food security needs. Again, Antigua and Barbuda is grateful to be a part of this grouping and look forward to meaningful implementation and support through the interregional mechanism of ALBA. Thank you very much.
Le damos la palabra al compañero Vance.
Next, we give the floor to our friend Vance Emery, who is the National Coordinator of St. Kitts and Nevis for ALBA-TCP. The floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Chair. And I wish to indicate that St. Kitts and Nevis are very pleased to be part of this very important high-level meeting of ALBA-TCP. And at the outset, let me apologize for the absence of the Minister of Agriculture and also for the Permanent Secretary. The Minister is at Parliament, but the Permanent Secretary from the Ministry of Agriculture and Fisheries and Marine Resources, they have sent a team of proficient technical persons, Mr. Mark Williams, Fisheries and Marine Resources, and Mr. James, the Director of Agriculture and Production of Crops, Animal Resources, etc. We are all aware that St. Kitts and Nevis, like other countries in the region and the international community, suffered significant dislocation as a result of the COVID-19 and the negative impact of that pandemic, the ability of our people to live the quality of life in the last year, which we have experienced this debilitating pandemic, COVID-19. The government of St. Kitts, because of this, has recognized that the agricultural sector has to be given greater prominence. We also recognize that we have to look at our marine resources and our fisheries resources because we're surrounded by the sea, and how do we utilize those resources which are under our control to help to improve the quality of life of our people and also to provide us with additional economic activity for the welfare of our people. It is out of this adverse circumstance that the government of St. Kitts and Nevis, like all the other governments in the region, and ALBA-TCP, recognizes, and we have been forced to look at and take a new look at the importance of agriculture as the ability to enable us to survive. And clearly, we have indicated that food crop production, vegetables, fruits, livestock for meats, fish for the protein we require from our marine resources, that these will have to form part of our sustainable policy for sustainable agriculture production and for food security. This has been one of the staple expressions of our minister and the Minister of Agriculture, that food security has to be paramount for the people of St. Kitts and Nevis through the TNT government. We recognize that we are not alone in this. We are part of a region. And therefore, we need to engage in cooperative and collaborative efforts. And this meeting, which has been convened, we want to thank the organizers for this meeting. And we recognize that between our several countries, that will be able to have a meaningful, applicable policy on providing a sustainable agricultural program, a sustainable marine and fish resources program to move us towards food security for our country, St. Kitts and Nevis, but also to assist in the regional food security plan. I have listened to the quest for us not just to have a general discussion, but rather to look at what are the structures that we can put in place to give effect to the discussion which we have had. We clearly have to find a way of facilitating the trade between and among our countries. So we have to look at a currency, cryptocurrency perhaps, which the central bank of the OECS is looking at. We have to look, as St. Vincent and the Grenadines have asked, for more efficient transportation, the movement of goods and people as part of this whole thrust for development of agricultural and fisheries sector, to move towards where there is surplus to where there is deficiency, but also to ensure that all of our countries engage in a very pragmatic and practical way, producing the food which we can using the resource of our land and of our seas around to provide for our people. This regional effort and initiative is essential, and St. Kitts and Nevis supports it. So we will be supportive of any structure which will help to facilitate the development of agricultural sector. We in turn will look at the techniques and the skills which we have in our technicians to provide support regionally for the increase in crop production, the enhancement in the quality of the products which we provide, not just in crops, but also in our animal, in the meats which we want to produce from our animals. And it is therefore important that we look to the improved varieties, the improved quality of the inputs seeds, the support systems for our farmers, water systems, provision of fertilizers, organic production of goods. And certainly this will add not just to the economic well-being or the work of the farmers, but will benefit the total community, which we want to see move along as part of this regional thrust for the enhancement of our agricultural industry. It is in that light that I said St. Kitts and Nevis will certainly support any measure which will enhance the development of agricultural system, will enable us to be more productive, more prolific in the quantity and the quality of goods we produce so that we can benefit, and also to be able to export where necessary, utilizing what we expect based on the arguments of Grenada and St. Vincent, and we support that. The improvement in sea transportation or air transportation to move the goods around. I want to indicate that during the course of the meeting, as we look at the agenda, the technical officers whom we have will be willing to make interventions. But from myself as the leader of the delegation, I wanted to assure this meeting that St. Kitts and Nevis is fully supportive of the initiative, and that we clearly want to see movement forward, not just in the establishment of but more in having practical applications for the implementation of the policy for food security and for greater reliance and utilization of our resources, so that we do not face, as we were in a state of flux and fear, that during this pandemic, in the early months, we were afraid that our food chain would be disrupted. And we have therefore responded through the support of the government to farmers by assisting them, providing seeds, providing support systems to ensure that they respond to the negative fallout of the pandemic to become more productive and more self-reliant as a country. Mr. Chair, I want to thank you, and I said our technicians are willing to make any contribution as we go ahead in terms of the substantive issues of the agenda which has been put before this meeting. Thank you very much, and I wish the meeting well.
Gracias, compañero Mitchell, por la.
Thank you very much, Brother Mitchell, for your excellent contributions. Now I give the floor to Raul Icausi, President of the BANALBA and Vice Minister for the Caribbean. Thank you. Good afternoon, Ministers of Agriculture, representative of our brotherly nations, and other representative, Mr. Sasha Llorenti. First, thank you very much for your kind invitation. We welcome the holding of this meeting. This was an initiative that came from the summit of the Bolivarian Alliance of America in June, where the heads proposed a special plan to foster agricultural production in order to increase self-reliance in food in the region. I would like to thank you and congratulate you, Secretary, for the high level and the good attendance to this meeting. Distinguished ministers of all countries are present here today. We have worked with them on a daily basis. They are very close to various programs that we have financed, not only through the bank, but through the ALBA scheme. We are very grateful for your participation, and we are very happy to be part here. In our 12 years, BANALBA has demonstrated to be an institution devoted to projects in the food sector in order to develop further this sector. We have financed, based on our own resources and third parties, a volume of more than $400 million. Out of it, the agricultural sector is in the third rank in importance. So if we analyze From the perspective in this graph, we see the total amount, 15.9% of the total financing devoted to agriculture. We have transport and infrastructure with 25%, education 16%, and the agricultural sector as the priority of ALBA Bank. Transportation and infrastructure, they have an impact on the agricultural projects. We need to remind that after the financial crisis of 2008, ALBA Bank was the institution through which the ALBA Food was implemented in Latin America and the Caribbean. Beyond the sums applied, the agricultural projects are already yielding results. Today, we can see we have the first coffee plantation in Robusta coffee in Nicaragua. The Robusta coffee enabled the Sandinista government to demonstrate to productive actors in the region that this is a feasible crop. Today, the private sector has started to plant this coffee. They're going to have an important coffee growing area that in the past was not imaginable. Also, we have a project of an industrial unit for the cattle, and they produce a lot of bovine, and the cattle on hoof had to be transported 300 kilometers before being slaughtered. Now, with this slaughterhouse built in the area, has improved the quality and quantity of the very, very good meat produced by this country. Also, we have financed the main agro business project in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, and the minister is mindful of the success of this project in St. Vincent. In the English Caribbean, they depended a lot on the trade with the UK. When they broke the colonial pact with London, the production scale of these Caribbean nations was not enough to be competitive nationwide or internationally as well. So the main company in St. Vincent succeeded in transforming these products in finished products with more value added in order to guarantee a sustainable income with fair prices and fair salaries for the workers. Regarding food sovereignty, the ALBA Bank has called upon the leaders of the area to strengthen food security and sovereignty as one of the main targets of our alliance. In this regard, other than financing agricultural and pisciculture and industrial projects, we have also geared to increase the capacities required by the countries of the alliance in order to strengthen the logistics required to ensure food sovereignty. The ALBA Bank has financed various initiatives to improve the agricultural sector, such as in Cuba, the financing of the refractory Havana, producing the refractory bricks required by the sugar industry to function. Here we have a map with the various projects financed in each one of the countries. In Antigua and Barbuda, the financing, and the minister, Mr. Davis, mentioned this, and it was reinforced by the Minister of St. Kitts and Nevis, and also mentioned by other colleagues regarding transportation. The ALBA Bank is very proud to finance Conviasa and Liat. through themselves or through the governments, as in Antigua and Barbuda, in order to increase the potentials of agricultural exports in the region. It has been a huge progress, and we are close to reach a complementary route to export and import of food from our countries. The projects in progress, well, in Dominica, we have identified the potential for coffee plantation to improve quality, so it can become a specialty coffee. The purpose is to achieve a bean whose quality should place it among the best in the world. Regarding direct financing to small farmers, other than the financing of the agricultural initiative, the bank has also developed capacities to finance small-scale farmers. In alliance with local entities, we have developed a financial product, the roving financial line for these small-scale farmers. We finance agro supplies in exchange of agricultural products. Small-scale farmers have the guarantee to have the supplies required to work the land and the guarantee of the purchase of the harvest at fair prices on the basis of productive chains already in place. What would we propose today? After following very closely the various proposals, concerns of our ministers in the various countries, well, we put at the disposal right now to the Eastern Caribbean nations a roving financing line of $200,000 for each country of the Eastern Caribbean countries, members of the Bolivarian Alliance, from the resources of the special funding fund of the ALBA Bank. So, immediately, at your disposal, you have $200,000. Each one of the 5 member countries of the Eastern Caribbean region. This financing will be given to the agent responsible for the execution of the project. And they have to fill the forms with the various farmers to have access to the money, to purchase the supplies, to distribute the supplies among farmers that join the program, and to give the guarantee of this tool in exchange of produce. So this is our proposal. And we would like to finish by saying that Bolivia, Nicaragua, Cuba, and Venezuela, you have the support of our bank. Since you are bigger economies, we're going to debate the amount with you. But basically, this was our announcement. And always invite Grenada and St. Kitts and Nevis to join the ALBA Bank. These are the only 2 countries of the ALBA Bank which are not members of the ALBA Bank. We again invite you to join our bank, our development bank, very important for the region. Thank you for your attention, and have a nice afternoon. Thank you very much. Very well. Thank you, Raul, for your kind words. Before giving the floor to Gracie Barrios, our minister, I would like to mention some of the elements we have developed in Venezuela in the agricultural sector. Regarding the problems resulting from the COVID-19 and the criminal blockade by the US government and its allies in the world. First of all, Comrade Nicolás Maduro tasked us to create new institutions to strengthen and give more efficiency the agricultural aspects. Venezuela historically has been an important country, never a food-producing country, despite the fact that we have 30 million hectares useful for agricultural activities, both cattle raising, vegetal, and in the forest field, and in the agriculture and water resources it has. Therefore, the Great Agro-Venezuela Mission was created. It is a methodology created by Commander Chavez and actually Nicolas Maduro also implemented. There we see 9 strategic areas: the land and the substrates for crops, aqueous and air substrates, and the soil and the proper use of the soil. So we created the Urban Agricultural Ministry, the Agriculture Ministry, etc. They are all linked to ensure food security and food sovereignty in Venezuela. 18 programs have been developed for social protection from 5 million children in school age, in school food program, and the distribution of million of food packages, which are the Local Committee of Supply and Production, the CLAP program, the Local Committee of Production. And the idea is to territorialize the process, as mentioned by Cuba and our sister from Nicaragua, in order to ensure the closeness of production and distribution. The purpose is to produce 12 million packages, meaning 6 million families, households in the country, with an average of 4.3 people per household. Therefore, we are reaching almost 80% of the households in the country. In these new institutions, as we saw in those 9 strategic lines, we created a technical unit of research, development, and extension, which is currently developing 11 lines of research. First, linked to the land, second, to genetics, both vegetal and animal, use of hydrical resources, small-scale production to improve the agronomical practices, bio supplies, and we put at the disposal of the ALBA countries our production plant of biocontrollers and fertilizers built by Hugo Chavez, the capacity to produce all the areas, efficient areas of production of Latin America could be served with these biofertilizers. We have transformed liquid fertilizers into pelletized fertilizers that can be used to improve supply and distribution. And also, as mentioned by one of the brothers of the Eastern Caribbean region, we have genetical labs and supply labs and engineering labs. They are at your disposal. If you want to send your technicians and to evaluate them. We have also research line regarding packaging, given climate change and the pollution of the seas and the oceans. It is vital to change the packaging. We have worked and a lot in this field. The reproductive linkage. This is of the essence. In order to develop production scales from a small dimension, small scale, for the urban and conversion and conventional agricultural activities, especially in vegetables, roots, and so on. We're making trials with rice with very good results. We got a mechanization and medicine, storage, transportation, and distribution. Just to share with you some of our progress in these areas. We're also advancing in the minor species that was not considered. For instance, a cattle of a small ruminants. It has been very successful, given the rusticity of these animals. And in order to have quick results. So we use ruminant animals in order to improve the genetic, especially also in the goats and sheep, and also in pig. Regarding pulses, we are having good results with the Chinese bean. That all of this is produced for export because we do not consume this pulse, which is highly proteic. It is also at your disposal. And we'd like to share with Nicaragua and with Cuba and the rest of the countries the production of other pulses, such as the black bean and frijol in the various species. Nicaragua has a huge potential regarding the genetic and improvement of pulses in the country. These are part of the achievements in the midst of the pandemic. So we came from being net important country to a country that little by little is starting to export product, agricultural goods such as shrimp, crab, and other biological species, tahali, that sardines, etc., exporting to Asian countries. We have started also exporting the cattle to friends from the east of Africa and the Middle East. And for the first time, after a century and a half, we're going back to the export of coffee, green and roasted coffee. And it is also at your disposal. The experience that we have gathered, we have learned also from you in how to improve the quality of our coffee. In this regard, we can share those markets where we have already opened a few windows and where we find a high demand for our produce. Also, the experience of the creation of the only tetra hybrid Angus indigo of the world, the Orinoco cattle. It's a mixed breed with edaphological conditions very similar, half-blood indigo and Taurus of high performance with meat production and milk production. It is very precocious and very resistant. Therefore, it can help us to improve our herd. Very well. With this brief summary, I would like to give the floor to the Minister of Urban Agriculture in the framework of the agribusiness mission, business sector. She has been making major contributions. And I want to tell you that to all the member countries, we have in Venezuela, we have 2 million hectares in Venezuela available for cattle raising and for vegetable planting in order to consolidate the alliance in food production. Thank you very much, Minister. We greet all the authorities present here today, all those present in this room. This team has been working very hard to ensure food security of our countries. In the case of Venezuela, we are implementing the Homeland Plan, the legacy of Commander Chavez. And there we find all the elements required to ensure food security to the people. Thank you for giving the floor to me. I just want to convey the experience we have had in the Ministry of Urban Agriculture in order to strengthen the agricultural mission. President Maduro is fostering this mission, strengthening all the productive sectors of the country in the agricultural sector. I had to quote President Maduro, who says that the urban agriculture is a revolutionary concept. Why? Because it is transformative, because it urges us to produce, to improve our capacity to produce the food required for our household. And this is the purpose of this communal and urban agriculture. With this strategic area, we need to recognize the productive capacities of the people as a whole, those who have pieces of land in their own homes, and they can undertake their own experiences in various aspects of the urban agriculture, various type of production, in vegetables, but also in animal production. The pandemic has caused a lot of havoc in our populations around the world. And in the case of Venezuela, it has enabled us to recognize our productive capacities that we have as a people in each one of our communes and social organizations. Therefore, we have been able to promote from the policies fostered by the Bolivarian government the development of the human capacities of our people. We are promoting the integral development of our country in order to ensure that in the conscious fashion, our people can have access to the tools and supplies required for production within their own households. Our ministry is being developing a sectoral plan in urban agriculture in order to fulfill the Homeland Plan, a strategic plan named to produce prevail with 6 programs, productive programs, tied to the 7 pillars of the Agro Venezuela mission. So the ministry is strengthening the urban agriculture, communal and family agriculture, and we are doing this around the country together with the Ministry of Production and Lands. For 6 months during the pandemic, we developed an experience of training production with Nicaragua. Therefore, we got familiar with the training process, productive process in Nicaragua. And it was directed to technicians and to farmers. Therefore, we are so thankful for this project, and we convey our solidarity and recognition to the efforts made and the revolutionary effort made for the transformation of our societies to make sure that our peoples have access to the sacred right of food and that we are independent and sovereign as we have always dreamt that we should be. Thank you very much. And produce is to prevail, and we continue prevailing. Thank you very much. Thank you for your kind words. And before giving the floor to our secretary, executive secretary, I would like to try to make a synthesis of the proposals made by the colleagues. So these proposals can be on the table, so they are included in our minutes. First of all, the need to consolidate a structure of multimodal transportation system, maritime, air, and ground transportation, land transportation, to facilitate the exchange of passengers, cargo, and post. This means that our authorities, air and maritime authorities, should be convened to a meeting in order to formalize these safety protocols. For this to be possible, all our nations are clamoring for a better transportation means. We cannot continue being an archipelago as we are today. We should rather be a peninsula connected by land, by sea, and by air. Second, I would like to propose to Raul Causi and others present here the strengthening of feasibility studies with the technological platform that we already have of the financial structure of the ALBA Bank. So this bank can become the first crypto bank to harmonize the two systems. First, the regular money in cryptocurrency. We already have an experience in this field, and we want to put this at the disposal of the ALBA Bank, so the rest of the country can join us in this. This is of the essence to have the resources enabling us to carry out projects that are in progress and new projects that materialize. Also, for these projects to materialize, all the government agencies, and I think we have the political will, we harmonize our zoosanitary and phytosanitary policies for the free transit of the products. To this end, we need to create technical teams and scientific teams as a single authority of the ALBA-TCP.
Certifique a nuestros productos y valide la sanidad de nuestros productos agrícolas e insumos para la agricultura. Es decir, fertilizantes, agroquímicos, productos sintéticos, productos orgánicos, etcétera, etcétera. Y finalmente, conformar un equipo científico y técnico multinacional para compartir estas experiencias y poner a disposición en cada uno de nuestros países las capacidades instaladas de investigación y desarrollo, de forma tal que podamos socializarlas y poner a disposición de cada uno de nosotros, de nuestros países y de nuestros pueblos, la posibilidad de avanzar en la producción con insumos, bioinsumos, tecnologías fáciles, sencillas y adecuadas a cada uno de nuestros países. Pongo el ejemplo de la experiencia de la papa en Venezuela, donde hemos desarrollado 37 variedades de papa de distintos pisos, tanto de baja altura como de mediana altura y de gran altura. Allí pudiéramos ver en los países del Caribe cómo desarrollar con estas variedades que hemos estado trabajando en nuestro país y cómo compartir la experiencia de generación de estas semillas en sus propios países con instalaciones muy, pero muy sencillas y llevadas a cabo por nuestros campesinos. Así que con estas 5 grandes propuestas que creo que de alguna manera recogen el aporte de cada uno de ustedes, dejo al compañero Sacha Llorenti para que cierre este hermoso encuentro con la lectura del acta correspondiente. Sacha.
Sí. Muchísimas gracias, ministro, compañeras, compañeros. Creo que está, sí, vamos a esperar un minuto, creo que tenemos alguna
Let us
dificultad.
wait for a minute. Apparently, there's a difficulty with the interpretation. Yes, I'm sorry, there was a, I apologize. Interpreter apologizes. 1, 2, 3, testing. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yes. Thank you very much. Thank you very much to the minister for such a precise and accurate and pertinent subject after all the interventions that we've heard today. I would not like to continue without greeting the Vice Minister Miguel Carpio, who is joining us, and also the Vice Minister Daniela Rodriguez, who is the National Coordinator for Venezuela of our alliance. We are going to transcribe the proposals that have been posed by the minister, Minister Castro, and we're going to send them to all the countries for them to be incorporated in the record, in the act that we have prepared jointly. Please let me indicate that the record, the act, is quite extensive. It contains 35 points of agreement. We have to add those manifested by Minister Castro, but also by the announcement. We also have to include the announcements of Raul Igauzi regarding the funds for the countries, Eastern Caribbean countries, that represent $200,000 as a loan, which will contribute to the objectives that he has pointed out. This has to do with a rotating credit line or loan. That is the exact expression that I was looking for. I will simply allow myself to read some of the points, some of the aspects that I believe are important as conclusions of this important meeting. First of all, as main agreements, the strengthening of the production of foods in all different scales through the scientific and technological leverage in order to ensure the safety, defense, and protection of peasants, fishermen and women, agricultures, as well as all the sectors included in the productive chain of the member states of the ALBA-TCP. Based on the Venezuelan experience and on the application of the Great Mission Agro-Venezuela, which has also been shared by Minister Castro. The exchange for the installation of a high biotechnology lab for the preparation of biologic products, chemicals, and veterinary medications. The strengthening of the management and performance of producers, as well as exchanges and agri-food chains locally to contribute to the socio-economic development, sustainable development of the countries of the ALBA-TCP within the food chain, grains, milk, beef, meat, among others, to reach agreements for mechanization of agriculture, the supply of spare parts, manufacture and import of agricultural machinery, to provide cooperation through exchanges between the countries of the ALBA-TCP to expose successful experiences that demonstrate training, and also to educate people for the formulation of public policies, taking into account the priorities of member states. To establish a cooperation program for the exchange of knowledge for the technification and or processing in low scale of strategic areas, to cooperate in the area of aquaculture, agreements for planting and materials for the manufacturing and maintenance of tanks for the harvest of aluminium, to cooperate with the organization and exchange mechanisms of experiences between producers and peasant organizations of our people, to cooperate for the strengthening of the MACA with the capacity of exportation with the sanitary protocols, to reach agreements for the production and processing of soybean as well as other necessary supplies for the balanced food of minor species. To develop an information system, a strong one that is related to the digital agriculture, to incorporate the use of drones for agricultural purposes, and to establish the use of the cryptocurrency Petro as a monetary referral, as a financial instrument of the countries of ALBA-TCP to form an agricultural fund in order to strengthen the economic sovereignty and for the supply of machineries, supplies, seeds, production, and distribution of field supplies. These are some of the agreements that we have worked on. Evidently, the entire text of the act that has been agreed upon by all of you will be available and will be published. If you allow me, Minister, I would like to submit to your consideration the act, the record. There's no observation, so the act has been approved. It has been adopted. Thank you all very much for your work. I would also like to thank the work teams of each one of the member states, the national coordinators, the team of the Venezuelan Foreign Affairs Ministry, the National Coordinator of Venezuela, the team, the communication team of the Foreign Affairs Minister of Venezuela. They have contributed for this connection to be successful during the meeting. I would like to thank the interpreters, translators, the supporting team. Thank you very much. And after this meeting, we have enormous tasks, but of course, we are be able to accomplish all these tasks and to confront these challenges. Thank you very much.